You're listening to the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast, the place to come for movie reviews, along with some extra fun talk about movie-related topics like box office and awards. You can find us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and basically any place else you can find podcasts. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter for even more content. If you like what we do, feel free to share us with your friends, like and leave feedback wherever you listen to us, and let us know what you think. Now, let's get on with the show.
Let's start with The Bad Batch because it opened today.
Okay.
Well,
Second-
episode one, second episode hit today
Yeah.
on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
This is a spinoff from the Clone Wars
Correct.
show, the anime.
Yes.
Okay, because I'm one of the few Star Wars fans that has not watched any of the animated stuff. I didn't watch Rebels. I didn't watch Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Didn't watch it.
I would say you are missing out on some really good stuff,
Right.
as well as some stuff that's probably unnecessary. But the Clone Wars, and actually, the later Clone Wars really found its place, and I thought Rebels was pretty good too. But if for all intents and purposes, the Bad Batch, yes, it's they were introduced in the final season of the Clone Wars.
Of the Clone Wars.
And one thing that is kind of interesting to note is this is actually they're taken directly from George Lucas's notes.
Oh,
So
really?
This is a George Lucas, at least the general idea of
Right.
of the Bad Batch, which are essentially clones who came out imperfect,
Right.
in a strange way. They're kind of the superheroes in the sense that they have a heightened something about them.
Right.
Um,
Something is off, and they're independent.
yes,
Ish.
yes, which is kind of the plays a big part of this. So this is kind of set in the space. It kind of overlaps a little bit with the end of episode 3, and all the Order 66 mayhem, and so that's kind of where we're building up
Right.
on this. And I think as long as you know the general prequel story,
Right.
you should be okay with where this is. You don't need to know that, they're all the finite details of who these guys are, and a lot of about them you can just tell by their names.
Right.
So
They're not terribly original.
No.
So weird thing is I watched this. I watched the first 2 episodes at home.
Yeah.
And so I asked my wife, who's a big Star Wars fan, so do you want to watch these or not? And she goes, yeah, we can watch. So threw it down on the TV downstairs, and we watched. That the pilot is an hour and 7 minutes or some ridiculous number.
Yeah.
And then they're all going to be half-hour shows.
Yeah.
And so we watched them, and then we're old, so it was getting toward bedtime. So we cleaned up for the night, went to bed, and then the next day I asked her, I go, "Did you like that?" And I asked her that because she specifically does not care for the prequels at all.
Yeah.
She's a 4, 5, 6 gal, right? And she goes, "No, I enjoyed it." And we had tried to watch Rebels. I think we watched like 1 or 2 episodes, and then she stopped. I said, "Well, you can watch them if you want." And she never went back to. I don't know if she's going to, but she goes, "No." She goes, I can watch that. She goes, she kind of enjoyed that. And I was just like, and I don't know where I am. I don't know if I didn't watch it. I don't feel like I'd be missing anything, because I feel like right now the Star Wars universe is so fractured amongst the prequels, the originals, and the sequels, and the animated stuff, and the Disney Plus stuff, and then all of the fan stuff, and the way the fans respond to all that. It's like, do I really? I mean, unless I really like it, do I need to care and follow it up? So I don't know if that colored my appreciation for the show or not.
Yeah. Well, and I would say, generally speaking, the idea, and they're getting further. Unfortunately, it's kind of getting harder to keep to this, but the whole idea with Star Wars should be that if you see the core stuff you should be able to, understand the basics. It is getting a little crazy with all the books and all the animated series and working in such they're starting to obviously work out of the timeline that we've kind of been in,
Right. The
because really,
Skywalker
when you think
timeline.
this, yeah, which is really 100 or so years, maybe. I'm sure someone can
Like
tell you exactly.
It's like 60
You
because
know, but anyway,
Anakin's 10,
so
and then
yeah,
what 30? He grows up, so he's what 18, 19 when he turns, give or take. And then it's 20 years before A New Hope, and then it's 30 years after Jedi
something, yeah.
for
So I
the
mean,
sequels.
so really, we've been working in a really small, area of what is thought to be a much larger universe, and even in that universe itself, we've been, stuck in one
Right.
particular corner of it, I guess.
Yeah, it's a very
Um,
thin slice of time and a very thin slice of
of what's
material
actually
in
going on.
that time.
Yeah. Because I mean, obviously, we see glimpses of, well, the galaxy's big, and all this stuff is happening, and they throw great parties at the end of movies.
Right.
And
Every time a Death Star blows up, party, party, party.
I'd say they really know how to do that. But I'm going to be honest. I didn't know. I mean, I've enjoyed the animated stuff. There's a part of me that kind of just wants to get out of this era, this that all these things have been in, and explore the world, and
Right.
let's just do something new. But I was kind of won over by these first two episodes, in the sense that we are dealing with a space that it hasn't this particular space hasn't been explored yet, in the sense that it's kind of set concurrently, or I guess a little earlier right now than Solo.
Right.
But it's quite a bit earlier than Rogue One, and obviously earlier than A New Hope. There's not a lot. I mean, with the Clone Wars, the animated series, it was stuck right in the middle of the prequels,
Right.
and it was in a place that, to a certain extent, had already been defined, and it was working in really tight quarters, I guess, and they did some really interesting stuff with that. But this is an area that still, obviously, they can't go too far on the creativeness of taking this story, because it has to eventually at least start to line up with what we have. But there's at least some time in there that this is exploring, and it's a period that I think I'm more interested in than I realized. I will see what they do with it, but the post Order 66 stuff, I always thought it would be nice to get more of that, and whether that be the hunting down of the Jedi, or whatever it is, and this is occupying that kind of space. We've got a new character in it and that's interesting. They've added some layers maybe to the clone story, the backstory to the clones, and so I mean, I don't know that it's required viewing, but at least to this point, I think it's good.
Yeah, like I said, I don't dislike it. I just don't know that I love it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just don't know that I'm excited enough about it, I guess, is my problem with it. Maybe I'll go back and watch them again. It's only 2. I can probably squeeze.
Yeah, well, and I would recommend, really, if you want to jumpstart, go back to season 7. I believe it's the of Clone Wars, and I believe it's the first 3 or 4 episodes of that is where these guys get introduced.
Right.
And so you're given a little more about them. I could go geeky and tell you other. They were kind of set up in like the 3rd season, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway,
right.
But for all intents and purposes, I think we're everyone we're kind of on this thing where, okay, we go Disney Plus has a new Star Wars and a new Marvel, a new Star
Yeah.
Wars, and so we're kind of in this cycle. And so this is going to be 16 episodes. So
Yeah.
every Friday for the next 14 weeks, there'll be something new, and that's going to kind of cross over into Loki as well. But Loki's going to be
That's
on
right.
But Loki's going to be Wednesdays. And I
Yep.
think that's why they did it, is they wanted to separate the two at least a little bit. So we'll start seeing Loki in early June. But at 2 episodes in, I'm all right with where it's going, and I'm interested enough that I think, as a fan of the animated series, that I'll stick with it for the foreseeable future. And
Yeah, like I said, on paper,
see.
I should be all over this.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
I should be.
But it's I think I do think that there are a lot of feelings about the. In fact, I think the prequels are inferior films, but if you add in all the story elements of the animated series
Mhm.
to those films,
Well, I'll bet
you
it's a
actually
richer
get it.
time.
Well, it's not just a richer time. You actually get the action elements. It's not just the politics.
Oh, well, yeah.
And it's kind of strange because it almost feels like maybe it should have been the opposite. That the film should have been the sugar-coated stuff, and the additional material should have filled in a lot of the other stuff. There are politics and things, don't get me wrong, but it's just more focused on action and whatnot. So I feel better about the prequels when I consider them as part of a bigger thing.
Right.
And that bigger thing includes the Clone Wars animated series.
Right.
But there's still things I have issues with, obviously.
Well,
but
yeah.
it's it's not my. It wasn't my playground to play in. They didn't give me that sandbox. So
No.
But for some reason they have yet to give me the keys to the car.
That is so weird.
Or the Falcon, or the whatever. Maybe someday it might happen. Why not?
Yeah. Okay, so.
But yeah, I mean, if it's clones rather than Jedi this time around. Clones War did have more Jedi in it. This doesn't really. Maybe more will appear, but this is, interesting side story stuff.
Right. Like I said, I wanted to like it. I'll go back and see, and maybe I'll like it more second time around. I don't dislike it. Like I said, I don't dislike it. I don't want to tell anybody not to watch it if they're a fan, because I mean, please go watch it. It's I love Star Wars, and I should encourage people to see stuff at every possibility. But yeah, it just didn't grab me, and maybe that's why I'm not as high. It's like it didn't grab me. It's not that it's bad. It's just I wasn't like, oh yeah, So, but yes,
and I think because we are working in kind of these stories that are related to, but not necessarily the big. I mean, Rogue One kind of fits in this as well. And where
I loved Rogue One, so I enjoyed Solo, unlike most people.
No, they didn't go see Solo. That
is part of the problem.
They, you can't enjoy what you don't actually see.
That is true. Not perfect, but it is not the train wreck people seem to.
Not at all.
But yeah, that's a separate discussion. But yeah, so yeah, Disney Plus on Fridays, 14 more weeks, so 16 total episodes. Episodes 1 and 2 are out. Filoni has his hand in it, as Filoni seems to have his hand in everything at this point.
Well,
Star Wars related.
He's the kind of the guru of the animated stuff,
right?
And I'm among those who think that the franchise would be in a much enjoyable place if they had allowed him to have a better role in the movies.
Right.
And I think now, looking back, they probably agree that he seems to know what fans connect with, without just giving it sort of the fan service.
Right. Without
So,
all of the problems that were in The Rise of Skywalker
yes.
with JJ. Yes. That's a completely separate argument. Which we can have at any time. We can sit down and we can discuss all the problems with the Star Wars sequel trilogy and whatnot. But that's a whole other. There are corners of the deep dark YouTube where you can go and you can hear all of it, and it's not pretty. Whether it's true or not, the discussion is not pretty. So, but we would theoretically have a less disgusting discussion than that. So Disney Plus Friday nights, The Bad Batch, Clone Troop 99, Clone Squad 99.
Yes.
Clone Squad 99, I think. Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
Okay, here's the geeky element.
Okay, go for it.
So the reason why they're named 99 is because the original Bad Batch, the original clone that wasn't up to snuff,
Right.
was Clone 99. And there's a whole episode about how Clone 99 everyone looked down on him and didn't like him, and it turned out to be this brave hero. And so that's where the 99 comes from, as a tribute to him, as well as, it is worth noting that they don't go by numbers. This team,
No.
which is unusual for clone.
Yes,
troopers.
they have names, whereas all the clone troopers have 99s or have the numbers, unless like Captain Cody because I know some of them have names. Rex and Cody, those two names I know.
But those are very much the exception to the rule, and
right.
There's stories about why they have names and
why they have.
But
because Jedi got tired of names. So that's how that works. So there you go, everyone. The Bad Batch. Check it out if you're a fan. I'm going to give it another try, so please don't pillory me when you hear this. So, but we've got more movies coming out, and we are going to talk about those. But until we do, I'm Mark. That's Ryan. Bye, Ryan.
all right, see you guys.
And we will talk to everyone later. Bye-bye.